Hey Bashers, sitting on the bench behind me is my Traxxas Xmaxx. Tina's is green, mine's the orange one, and hers has an option on it that mine doesn't have. And I'm not talking about the widened arms here. Hers has the shock covers, and many companies make these, and we really like having these. They make your car look really cool, but they actually have a functioning reason to be on there. In this video, we're going to go over that. But first, if you watched Tina's video where we built her Xmaxx, you've seen us do this. We're going to show you how to put these on, and we're going to do it right now. So if you've got a set of these and you want to know how this is done, we're going to show you right now how to do it. And as always, this is geared towards new people. The experts in the field, they already know all about this. So this is not geared towards them. This is geared towards the new people that get a set of these, don't know how they're supposed to go on. They do not come with instructions. So we're here to help you understand how and why. This should be pretty cool. Check this out. All right, so let's get right down on the bench and show you what's up. All right, so the Xmaxx is pretty cool. The corners on it are all pretty much the same, so you'll have the same hinge pin points. So we're only going to show you how to do it on one shock. It'll be the same for all four, but there are two screws right here, top and bottom of the shock absorber, that allow these pins to push out, and that'll relieve the shock, so you'll be able to get that off. So first off, we need to take these out. Now here's the first one, and we'll just go ahead and spin this out. And this is a short little screw here. It's not all that long. And that's it right there. So this is the first one. And we'll go down to the bottom here, and we'll back this out. Okay, so there's the other one, and there's two of these, so we want to keep those. Now on this one, the top one is the longer of the two, so you have two of these screws. There's the two, and on this Xmaxx, the longer one is the top one, so we'll keep those separated so we know which one goes where. Now if you can come along the back side to right here, you'll see that we have a hole on the back, and this would allow you to push this pin through. So we're going to just find something that slides in there, and we'll push it forward just like that. And now the rod's sticking out the other side, which means we'll be able to pull it out nice and easy just like that, and that'll free this up to be taken out. We'll do the same thing for the bottom right here, but this one here requires you to push it from the back, and the problem is the arm gets in the way, so the longer one like this will not work. You're going to need something small, and this is just a standard Allen wrench that will fit through this hole. So it pokes right in. That's not a big deal, so we'll use this one on the bottom. In order to do this, we're going to stand the RC up, so we'll tip it up. And we'll get you a look at it right here. So this is where we're going to push this pin through. So let's take our Allen, that's this one here, and we're going to fish it right in behind here and just push this forward like that. There we go. And there's our rod. We'll pull that out like so. And that's out now. So those are both out. The shock will be loose now. So let's take the shock out. And in order to keep the pressure off of this, we're going to use a stand, and we're going to get the weight off of that arm. So we're going to put this right underneath there. And it doesn't lift it much, but it's enough to keep the weight off. And all we need to do here is pull, and it lifts right out just like that. There's your shock absorber. So let's get with the installation. All right, so first off, the Xmaxx has a retention collar screw right here, and this is to keep everything in place during impact, but we need to back this screw off to get the shock apart, and we'll have to take this apart. So let's go ahead and back this screw out like so. And we're going to take it all the way out. There we go. And there's the screw that goes through it. So we're going to keep this one on this side just to separate it from those two so we don't have any confusion. Now, as we do with most of our shocks here, we're going to pull down on the spring package like that, and we're going to try and get this off here. Let's do this. There we go. Now once it's separated, you can pull the spring down, and that retention collar comes right off like that. So that was really simple. And then we're going to lift this off like so, and this is what we're going to work on. While we have this apart, we'll just take a rag and we'll clean this up. We're going to keep our settings the same as far as where our collar's at. We don't want to change the way it handles. We just want some protection. And here's what we're protecting. Right up in here, there's O-rings and stuff where this shaft travels up and down. Now the problem being, this shaft gets coated in oil because it goes up inside the shock. So when it's up in there, it gets an oil bath, but when it comes back down, there are what's called residuals on here, and it can attract dust and dirt. And if you look real close, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but there is a little ring right there where the O-ring stops, and you can see the dirt that's built up right there. Now the thing about that is, that dirt gets rammed up against the O-ring, and over time it travels in there and it weakens the O-ring and it'll begin to leak. I actually have one of these that's leaking on this car right now, and I will fix that off camera when we're done here. This is just to get this installed and show you why. So before we install this, let's take a rag and make sure this is nice and clean. We want to make sure there's no dirt and debris on it, just because it's needing cleaning in the first place. So let's go ahead and do that. That looks pretty good there, and we'll clean up the shock as well, just to get anything out of there that shouldn't be in there, like that. And it looks like I might need a little more cleanup than that. So let's just take one of these and we'll get this stuff out of here. And look at the debris coming out of that. See all this dirt on the table here? That's coming out of the O-ring area, and that's a bad thing. We don't want that dirt in there. We want that nice and clean so nothing gets in between the O-ring and the shaft. So you get this cleaned up like so. Wipe it down like that. And now it's clean and ready to go. It still feels like it's got the right fluids in it for what I want it to do. So everything appears to be working good. So we'll set this aside right now and we'll take one of these. And here's the trick that I've learned. See how this barely fits? It's just a little bit longer on each side. And you can't just pull it over the whole shock. You need to install it on the spring kit. Now, what I've learned over time is to get a piece of PVC. Now this is smaller than the spring and it flies right through there like that, and that makes it a lot simpler to do. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and fish it onto the PVC just like this. Here we go. And we'll get it on there like that. So now that's in shape. The problem is if you don't use the PVC, this is a pretty big spring and this is designed to just barely fit over it. So as you try to fish it on, you try to get it on here and you hold it and you get it in place. It gets hung up in the coils. See that? It gets hung up in the coils and it can be really difficult to fish those on. It is not impossible, but it makes it a lot harder. So if you use the PVC, it will hold it open while you put it on the car. So here we go, like that. And what you want to do here is put this over it as well. Then you can grab this and fish it over it. And the easiest way to do this is to hold this against yourself like this, so you've got your spring up against you and you can grab this piece and open it. And what you want to do is just grab this sleeve and open it up so that it will slide over, and it'll go right on like this and it'll slip right on there. And the beauty of this is that if you try and do this without doing it this way, you will struggle. This will allow you to get it right where you want it, and you want to keep a little off this end. And with this through there, it prevents anything from sticking because it won't go between the rails of the spring because the pipe prevents it. So now you can pull this on there like that, pull this end off this end, and just sort of center it up on there like this. So once you get it centered like that, now you're looking pretty good. It's on the spring, and that's the way we want it. Now I do have it stretched on there like so. Stretch it out a little bit and let it get on the spring properly, and that leaves you enough on each end, this end and this end, to secure it. And we're going to show you how to do that right now. Alright, so take your shock absorber like so, make sure this is extended, and you want to slide this off like that, and it'll hold its shape, right? So we have our tails sticking out the ends. we want to fold these in on the end, and this will make it nice and clean like so. And we're going to fold this end in as well, and make sure to get those in there good. So we're going to use the sleeve just to make sure they're packed in properly so that you can see through it pretty much. Now, with that being done, we're going to slide this on. You got to watch this side so you don't hang up on the other piece on the inside and get it to pull through. And that looks pretty simple, but what you have to do is take a look at where you're facing. So this is going to go on the vehicle like this, or like this, depending on how you put it on there. There is a seam here. Okay, so you want to look at where you're going to face and put the artwork that you want towards the side you want it to be on. I want this piece out front, so I'm going to put the lightning bolt right down that edge and put it on like so. Now you can pull this down and you can put your collar back on. And you have to look at this tab to make sure it lines up properly, because you don't want to twist it once it's on. Once that's there, carefully, and don't let it slip, you need to put this right on there. And that captures it on the shock absorber like that. So it's nice and neat. It's already stretched, so it's got a nice feel to it. The point of having these on here are twofold. The first part of that is, when you put this on there, it looks really cool. It really does. And if you get the right color to match your RC, it really adds a nice accent to it. But the real important part is to keep the dirt and debris from collecting on the rod and destroying the O-ring over time. Now, don't forget that we have to put our screws back in so this doesn't come apart in the field. So we'll put this one back in. And this is kind of unique to Traxxas here. The Arma cars and stuff like that don't have this screw, but always have a look to see if it has a retainer screw like this. Like so. Just snug it lightly. Remember, this is only plastic, so don't torque those down because you'll just pull the threads out, and that is a bad thing. So now we have that on there. We haven't adjusted the shock at all. It's exactly the way it was, so it should be set up properly. Now, one little trick to this is, if you need to adjust this collar, don't just crank it against this piece. Pull it down by hand and give yourself some room, and then adjust it, and then let it sit back up so you don't twist this fabric, because it will twist on there. Now it's just a matter of putting it back on the car. So since we're paying attention to our artwork here, we got to take a look at which side is going to be up. And we're going to have this side up, so the lightning bolt is on the outside. If you need to adjust it later, don't forget to pull down from the collar to rotate it, okay, so you can get the artwork where you want it. Now the trick part here is to get this thing lined up correctly so it slides right in place. And we're going to do the bottom one first. We're going to try and get this down in there. And they can be difficult because this ball rolls, but once you get it down in there, use a tool and get it lined up, because that's important that you get that lined up just right. There we go. And with that lined up, and it feels like it's pretty much in the right place, I'll try and hold that and fish this back in. Here we go. Where's it at? There we go. And it went right in like so. And we do have the artwork where we want it. I do want to roll it just a little bit. So we're going to take it down and twist it just a touch to get it where I want this lightning bolt to be. Then we'll put in the top one. And we'll get that lined up, get it in place. We'll take the tool here and we'll make sure we get lined up. That looks pretty good. Let's put this through like that. Now all we have to do is put our retention screws in and we are golden. And remember, the longer one went on the top here, so we're going to go ahead and install that one first, like so. Here we go. And being that we're putting this in plastic, just gently snug it down. Do not over tighten these. They don't have to have a lot of torque to do their job. Keep in mind, the pins are what take the brunt of the impact, not the screws. The screws simply keep the pins from coming out, so there's not a lot of pressure against them in the first place. There we go. One corner done. One thing of note, however, is if you're going to do this kind of thing and you've run your RC for a while, if you're new to the hobby, keep one of these in place in your toolkit, because this one's really necessary. This is just a pick. It's pointed on the end and it's sharp, so it allows you to get into tight spaces. What happens is, especially on the back here, these screws can get packed with material and you won't be able to get your wrench in there. One thing you don't want to do ever is try and jam the wrench in there on top of that dirt, because you won't actually lock into the screw well enough, and you can strip your screws out by not getting the proper bite. Always have one of these to clean your heads out. So you get down in here and just wiggle it around in there and clean all the dirt out first so that your wrench can get in there. See, these things, they need to go in a certain distance because you put a lot of torque on these, and if you don't get those clean first, you'll be looking for new screws. So there you go. That's how we put those on, and it's a lot easier when you do it that way. This applies pretty much to all the different RCs out there. In the smaller cars, it's not really so necessary to get the PVC in there, but if you can get something solid in there, a dowel might work. If you can fit it through the spring, it does make things a lot easier to do. It still takes a little bit of patience to get it done, but it is doable, and it does enhance the look of the RC. It gives it just a bit more character, something that the other ones, the stock ones, don't have. It gives it that little bit of extra that you want. So if you haven't already, don't forget to bash that like button and help our content spread. You know, memberships are open here at the channel, and everyone that joins the membership program helps us continue with our content. We really enjoy helping the new people to the hobby, because being new to something you don't completely understand can be a daunting task, and the RC hobby is fun for everyone. There's something for every category depending on what you want to do. You can do boats, crawlers, trucks, airplanes, whatever works for you. That's always a good idea to get into that and have a good time doing it if that turns you on. So joining the membership program does allow us to keep going with what we're doing. If you guys like the content and have anything you'd like to share, please feel free to get it in the comments and help others along the way. For AJ Jam Studios, I'm AJ saying, keep wrenching.